Let's get to coaching IQ. Tease this forward, Caleb, as it'll be the last look brought to you by Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. Who are some of the coaches that are going to make the list?
We got a few repeat offenders on this one. And by the way, I'll say this. We're all human. I've never held it against a coach for making my list one time because I think every human in the history has made a mistake at some point. They're like, why the heck did I make that dumb mistake? But if you keep finding yourself on the list, you may not be very bright. And so we got a few of those, including we got Shane Beamer, Billy Napier, and two coaches on here who were on here just last week. They made it on back-to-back weeks. This is going to be fun, guys.
All right. Last look brought to you by Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn and their Vision Center. Life is better when you see better. Look at me. No contacts, no glasses. ccteyes.com. ccteyes.com. So if I agree with Caleb,
Hey now.
he gets that. If I agree with Caleb, it might get this.
That's crazy.
And if I really agree with Caleb, it gets the
You suck, you jackass.
which never gets old. All right, Caleb, what do we got up first? Who is the first to take a shot from Caleb Calhoun?
The one, the only Shane Beamer, who seems to make this list a lot. Because Shane Beamer, it was a close game. I don't know if the outcome would have been different had he done this, but after an incomplete pass, South Carolina had the ball at the Alabama 36. It was 2nd and 18. Lenora Sellers throws an incomplete pass. Shane Beamer uses a timeout on 3rd and 18 with the clock stopped and 6:55 left in the fourth quarter. And because they couldn't get a play all. And then coming out of that, they decide we need to just get a pass for field goal range. Fine. They decide to throw a 3-yard pass to have their kicker try a 51-yard field goal when he's never made a 50-yard field goal in his life.
That's crazy.
John, your thoughts on Shane Beamer as a head coach?
Yeah, he needs to be punished. I'm going to spend a little more time. He needs to be. I need to think of a deserving punishment for that. And I'm sure he has appeared many times on Caleb's list and will in the future. He does some bizarre things, don't you think?
Yes.
Very bizarre things.
Yeah.
He is the.
But you,
He's the.
well, I just hate it when coaches. I know in the NFL, field goals are so commonplace and the kickers are so accurate, but that's not the case in college. When you're playing to set up a 51-yard field goal
Out of the timeout.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got this poll question up right now. You can take part in our YouTube page. Who is dumbest coach in the SEC? Shane Beamer, Billy Napier, Florida's coach, or South Carolina's coach? So you have 4 options to choose from there. All right, Caleb, who's up next?
Well, coach I actually believe in makes the next list. Did you guys see that Vanderbilt Kentucky game over the weekend and one of Mark Stoops' greatest blunders?
I saw a few plays in it. Go ahead.
So Kentucky got the ball deep in Vanderbilt territory. It was about with 2 minutes left in the third. Vanderbilt was up 17-7, and they bring up a 2nd and goal at the 1. But Vanderbilt, but they draw a penalty, so they can do one of 2 things. They can make it 1st and goal from the 2 or 2nd and goal from the 1. This is my analytics coming in, guys. But the extra down is way more important than the extra yard, 100% of the time.
I would totally agree with that, John.
Not Mark Stoops. He declines the penalty.
Yeah.
And says, no, I'll take it 2nd and goal at the 1, gets a false start, and 2 plays later throws an interception.
That's
John.
crazy.
That's crazy.
There you go.
It's an echo in here.
Yes, John and Tracy Morgan are practically the same person. All right, who's up next?
All right, we're going to go out west with 2 returning champions from California. First, Justin Wilcox. I don't know if you guys watched Cal Pittsburgh over the weekend, but Pittsburgh is still undefeated, largely because Justin Wilcox, Cal got the ball. They were down 17-15 to Pittsburgh, okay? And they got the ball into Pittsburgh territory with roughly, I'm going to say it was about 5 minutes left, okay? 5 minutes left. Justin Wilcox decided, I'm going to run the clock. I'm going to settle for a field goal. I'm going to settle for a 40-yard field goal and run the clock all the way down to 1:54 and not even try to get a first down. And the field goal was missed. So Pittsburgh was able to run out the clock. He ran it 3 times just to try to settle for the field goal with 5 minutes left.
You suck, Yeah,
He
jackass.
really does. Former defensive coordinator. You know what? I think I'm taking
Really
this.
does.
I think I'm taking this segment a little too seriously because Caleb is giving out this information. I'm writing down the
I
situation here on a
noticed
note.
you're
Yeah, I'm writing
taking
it down, and
notes.
then I'm writing it down so I can make a serious decision whether that's crazy or you suck. I'm trying to. I want to make sure I get it just right.
All right, we continue with Coaching IQ. Last look brought to you by Campbell Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn.
To visit cctis.com. The information you need is easy to access, and setting an appointment is as simple as clicking the tab. Doctors Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn, and Eye Care Optical at cctis.com. Simply the best.
All right, Caleb, who's up next?
All right, we got one more before we got my favorite of the weekend. But did y'all see Lincoln Riley's clock management on that final drive when USC played Penn State over the
Yes,
weekend?
and I'm more than willing to go ahead and drop this in right now.
You suck. Yeah, jackass.
They had the ball barely past midfield with 2 minutes left. Actually, I think it was 3. And Lincoln Riley decided it'd be a good idea to run the clock down to 14 seconds with multiple running plays and not use any of his timeouts. And so USC had to do a desperation play to try to score, and they throw an interception, which is why the game goes to overtime to begin with. Whereas if they just run their regular offense, they probably get into field goal range to kick a game-winning field goal.
Yeah, I wonder if he's trying to get fired out there.
It looked like it.
Given.
I do think when I look at those two measuring sticks, that's crazy can be kind of an aberration, something that it could happen to anybody, just some crazy moment. But you suck is so defining, like you're horrible and you will never do any better. This is who you are. You suck.
Yeah, and Lincoln Riley has lost 8 of his last 16, getting paid $10 million a year. So I think that's firmly.
You suck. Yeah, jackass.
All right, who's next, Caleb?
And our favorite of the weekend. And I saved this, guys, because we were covering the game. But John, has Billy Napier surpassed Butch Jones for the most incompetently coached Tennessee-Florida game ever? Because it's decisions on Saturday. And I'll let you guys pick. There's 3. And I'm just having fun. The first was the 4th and an inch, and he gets in shotgun. All right, that was pretty bad. The difference in the game, Billy Napier gets in shotgun on 4th and an inch near the goal line. Josh Heupel gets under center. Josh Heupel scores a touchdown. Billy Napier gets stopped. That's 1. 2, a substitution penalty trying to kick a field goal at the end of the first half.
The first thing I thought of was Caleb.
And what made it worse, Caleb, was he had used a timeout before that. So, I mean, these NFL guys can rush out there in 8 seconds and kick a field goal. They can't do that in college. And those 3 points could have been decisive. It could have won the game for him. Yeah, you got one more. That's not all.
No, my one more
really
is Billy Napier.
Billy.
My one more, and I'll let you guys pick which one was the worst one. That's the worst one for me, but Billy Napier not going for 2 at the end of that game was honestly really, really, really stupid. Florida, I mean, you don't want to go into overtime when you're the inferior team on the road. It reminds me, John, I said this yesterday. Do you remember when Tennessee had a chance to they score a touchdown against Texas A&M under Butch Jones, and they're down by 1, and they have a chance to go for 2 and win, and Texas A&M gets an offside penalty, so it's up to the 1-yard line, and Butch Jones says, rather than go for 2, because now you only have 1 yard, he declines the penalty so he has more room for the extra point.
John, I wasn't too crazy about what do they call it? When they shipped all of the offensive linemen over to the side that Billy Napier tried on he was going to run that.
The swinging, was that the swinging gate?
Swinging gate, yeah. You're going to run that on your 2-point conversion. And
I've seen Oregon pull that off. I even thought, I would have rather faked the kick. And I thought he had to go for 2 in that situation. And I'm not big on pulling off a fake extra point kick. I think that's difficult, but that would still be preferable. as Caleb said, you don't send that game into overtime. And, Florida had a chance to win that game after all had done wrong, and it'd been the better team for much of that game. But yeah, you don't go into overtime there at Neyland Stadium. That's just not going to win for you.
Nope.
You bring up a really good point, though. I think when you start making this stuff historical comparisons, when you just don't say, well, this was the dumbest coach of the week. This particular Saturday, when you go back and you bring up a Butch Jones and say, man, this was epic here. It wasn't just a dumb move of the week. It was historical.
It was the
Could
Butch
he
Jones
be dumber
award.
than Butch Jones? I'd have to think about that. Let me think about that for a few weeks, and I'll get back to you on that. I don't want that's, I don't want to pass.
Butch Jones did burn a timeout because he didn't have his field goal block team out there one time.
Okay, let me ask you this real quick. Worst haircut, Billy Napier, Butch Jones. John's appearance brought to you by Newbert Collision Center.
5th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Newbert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that. If we wouldn't put our family in it, we're not going to put their family in it. If you're going to say that you're doing the best work in Knoxville, now saying it's one thing, producing it and providing it's another.
The largest family-owned collision center in Knoxville is Joe Newbert Collision Center.
Worst haircut, Napier, Butch.
Oh, that's easy, Billy Napier.
See, I know it's easy, Butch, because he's got.
It's Butch.
Oh no,
Butch has a terrible haircut. By the way, can I give because y'all think I'm so hard on coaches, can I actually give a coaching genius award this week? Just one?
You're going to give a shout out to Dan
Lanning,
Lanning,
no, don't do that. That hurts your image. Just let it go.
Dan Lanning running the 12-man on the field on purpose to get a penalty to run 4 seconds off the clock late in that game is one of the most genius coaching moves I've ever seen.
That rule will be changed in part because it happened against Ohio State.